Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And this is Petey.
He has become a
staple,
I think.
A regular.
And every time we walk in the room now to film, he runs in here and just sits and waits to jump up.
Patiently.
Just so y'all know, he enjoys this a lot.
Yes, so do I. Today, we are discussing one of the most picturesque locations in the U.S. Mackinac Island, Michigan is like taking a step back in time. An island out on Lake Huron in the Straits of Mackinac. It's a major tourist destination with a long history and quite a few interesting legends and ghost stories. Even better, to end off this episode, we have a listener story telling one of your own encounters out on the island.
I'm very excited about that.
Me
it's
too.
A written listener story.
Yes, we nailed it in.
Back behind
it.
Samantha over here. By the way, if you didn't know, this is Samantha. I've never heard of it.
I have. I didn't know anything about it. I only knew certain like touristy aspects about it, and I've always wanted to go here.
Have you ever been to Michigan?
No.
I never have either. We should go. Would you go here?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay, then let's get into it. I'm excited.
Our tea today is Harney & Sons Imperial Earl Grey.
It was supposed to be, if you follow our Instagram, what was it supposed to be?
Bad News by Friday Afternoon Tea.
Yes,
But we already tried that one.
Yes.
So it was a repeat and an error on our part.
On my part. So, let's go. Oh, absolutely.
Very delicious.
Just a comforting cup of tea, honestly.
I love an Earl Grey.
Me too.
Starting all the way back, as far back as I can possibly go, Mackinac Island was formed by glaciers melted after the last ice age around 13,000 BC. The island was carved out of a unique kind of limestone called Mackinac breccia limestone. I think that's how you say it. Archaeological evidence discovered on the island suggests that indigenous populations began living on and utilizing the island around 900 AD. The name actually comes from the indigenous people of the area who called it Michilimackinac, which means place of the great turtle.
Aww.
The Anishinaabe people believed the island looked like a turtle rising out of the water with its limestone bluffs and many formations that are still seen on the island today.
That is so cute. Also, I have to point it out, it's limestone, of course.
Yes.
That's like one of the very first things that I actually learned on the pod. That's like limestone is it carries energy or whatever. And there's like a lot of
it like holds energy.
Hauntings around limestone. Yeah. And I'll never forget it. That was like literally, I think, the first little fact that I learned.
It was early on.
Mm-hmm.
The location of the island was a strategic one, particularly for the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi tribes.
Trixie Mattel is Ojibwe.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep, I did. Well, now you do.
Now I do.
Oh, crazy.
It was said in some of the earlier written histories of the island that even before this time, the land was inhabited by an earlier tribe and was considered a sacred place and thought to be home to the Great Spirit and the burial place of many tribal chiefs. The island also had its fair share of war, even before settlers arrived. It was an important place for centuries that the indigenous tribes in the area came to outside of winter months for hunting, fishing, and eventually trade, and this was exactly its main purpose when the French came along. The French and Native Americans established a trade partnership in the 1600s, eventually leading to the French's own trading post and Jesuit mission coming to the island. They're the ones who shortened the name to Mackinac.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a long name.
It's said that hundreds of people flocked to the area in the summer months for the fur trade between 1670 and 1700. So tribes from all over would come and trade with each other in the French.
But I really wish they would have just kept it as it was at the beginning.
A longer name?
Yeah, because why change it? It makes you wonder, like, what things were called in the past that we don't even know about.
Well, you know, a lot of things happen like that, especially in the Americas. Like, many people came to America, shorten their names, like, drastically.
Yeah.
Like, have some of their names.
That's just crazy to me. I wouldn't shorten mine. If I was going to change my name, I would change it to something, like, outrageous. I wouldn't just shorten it. You know? Something cool.
I
something
agree
like
a lot.
Star, Sparkle. You know? Something
Yes.
crazy.
Occupation of the island changed hands over the years, falling into the British hands after the French and Indian War, who built a trading and military post on Mackinac Island during the American Revolution. Then, when Americans gained independence, it became U.S. territory. The only military action the island saw after settlers arrived was during the War of 1812, when the British captured the fort once again, before inhabitants of the island even knew a war had begun. The war had been declared, but the people of the island had not known yet, because it was like immediately.
Oh.
And then that was like, I think, one of the first battles of the War of 1812.
That's scary.
In 1814, the Americans fought back for their fort and land on the north side of the island, but ultimately failed, leading to several deaths, including second in command Major Andrew Holmes, for which another fort on the island built by the British was renamed. I think it was like called Fort George or something, and they renamed it to Fort Holmes later on in honor of his death. By the end of the war, the island was given back to the Americans, where it remained under the control of the U.S. government through the Civil War, where it provided volunteers to defend the Union and was used to house 3 Confederate sympathizers. So it played its part. By this time, tourism had become incredibly popular on the island. It was a booming summer destination for people all over. It was in 1875 when the island was declared the 2nd national park in the U.S., 3 years after Yellowstone. And by 1895, Michigan's first state park. So it was handed over to the state.
Do they have a lot of like wildlife?
There's a lot of forest area.
Ah, cute.
The island's only about 4-ish square miles.
Whoa.
So it's pretty small. There's like a road going all the way around, and I think it's 8 miles.
Wow. Okay, before you tell me anything, I want to go.
Yes. Oh, the more you learn, the more you'll want to go, I promise.
Well, if it's haunted, I don't know.
It's okay. Over 80% of the island today is state park property. Hotels and summer cottages were being built on the island in the late 1880s, and tourism was the island's main form of business. One of the most interesting aspects of life on the island is that motor vehicles were banned in 1898, with the exception, of course, of emergency vehicles and snowmobiles in the winter. Today, residents and visitors to the island use horses, carriages, and bikes to get around the island. So if you're not feeling like walking, those are your only options.
I'm going.
I told you.
I'm going.
I told you. So if you arrive on the island and don't feel like walking with your luggage, you can hail a carriage taxi for your service. Though I feel it's worth mentioning that I've read a few stories of taxi drivers on Mackinac Island claiming to pick up ghostly passengers or sensing a presence in their carriage, yet when they turn around, it remains empty. So you may just catch a ride with one of the many spirits who call this island home.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed.
The island can only be reached by boat, ferry, or small aircrafts in the summer, and in addition, in the winter, snowmobiles via ice bridge over the Great Lakes. More than 500 horses live and work on Mackinac Island today, and the island as a whole is full of well-preserved historic homes and sites, as well as a very Victorian charm that makes the island so unique. So a lot of the buildings were built kind of like in the Victorian era and have that style about them. There are rules for some of these buildings, like they have to remain that way.
I love it so much. I was just thinking, it's so funny. Today I went and picked Ryan up at the airport, so I was driving through a bunch of small towns and stuff to get there. And every time I drive anywhere in Texas and I go through those little small towns that look just like preserved, I'm like, I love it here.
I know.
I wish everything looked like it used to.
I agree.
So much more fun, more character.
Yes,
and
charm.
Going to a place like that, I would just be like, I would just be at peace.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
Aside from the structures, there are many limestone formations and natural sights to see as well, many with their own lore and legends from centuries past. The island has a vibe about it that many claim feels as though the veil is thin. There are some sensations and encounters on the island that just can't be explained by any logical means. So some people, particularly psychics and people who, believers, come to the island and say that you can feel it. Like there's just a way about the island.
It's the limestone.
Probably. One of the most well-known and photographed formations is known as Arch Rock. It sits 145 feet above Lake Huron with a 50-foot wide arch beneath. It is suspected to have been formed many, many years ago by Lake Huron when the water was much higher, but it's said that the natives of the area had another idea about Arch Rock and its formation, a much more spiritual formation. This is a story adapted from The Lore of the Great Turtle by Dirk Gringus. So this is the story that he has claimed to have heard from, passed down from natives. Along the beaches on the shores of Lake Huron lived a band of Ojibwe. Their lodges or homes were round-topped and made of sapling and elm bark. The homes lay peacefully beneath the forest boughs. In the finest lodge, with its door blanket made of moose hide, lived the chief of the band and his beautiful daughter, called She Who Walks Like the Mist. When She Who Walks Like the Mist carried water from the lake in her clay vessel or worked the bright designs of dyed moose hair and porcupine quills into soft moccasins, the young braves watched with admiring eyes. But Mist Woman paid little attention. Her work days were long without a mother to help her. She never complained. Her father was proud of this. Someday, he knew she would marry a fine brave from another clan and have many children. At first, when the young men began coming to their lodge bringing gifts, Mist Woman smiled and offered them wild rice she had gathered in the canoe. Then one day, all was changed. Suddenly, the young men would find Mist Woman sitting with downcast eyes instead of welcoming smiles. As her father saw her growing more and more sad, paddling her canoe alone at night, he became angry. Why, my daughter, do you, who once smiled on the strong young men who brought you gifts, now treat them with a cold heart? Are you under an evil spell? He asked. Mist Woman only shook her head. A daughter cannot always live in the house of her father, he said. She saw anger in her father's eyes. At last, she spoke. It is true, my father, that I am under a spell, but not the spell placed by an evil spirit. Let me speak that you may know my heart, she said. Often when I go to gather the wild rice, it is late. The star of the path of the dead is in the sky when I return. 2 moons ago, as I paddled to the eastern shore of our village, a handsome brave appeared to me. His clothing was one of the widest deerskin I have ever seen and covered with designs my fingers could have never made. But even more wonderful was his robe of shining light. I tried to paddle quickly homeward, as a daughter should, but my hands were helpless and my canoe drifted into the lake. It was then that he spoke to me. "Oh, lovely one," he said, "long have I watched you in the village, wishing that you might be mine for all time. In my home, high above you, I am the son of a chief, evening star, and therefore a sky person. And so I felt I could not speak to you of my love. Then as I watched the young men coming to your ledge bearing gifts, my heart felt heavy, and I became one without hope. It was then that my father came to my couch of bird feathers, and I told him of your beauty. He understood and gave me leave to descend to earth that I might ask you to join me in my sky home." "And what did you answer, my daughter?" her father asked. "I said I would marry no one but him," she answered. "Daughter, no, it is forbidden. You should marry no one at all then," he shouted. Holding her by the arms, he took her out of the lodge towards the lake shore. He placed her in the bow of his canoe. With mighty strokes, he drove the canoe straight to the island of the turtle spirits. There, he took her to the top of the great rock, which towered above the beach. "Now," said he, "you shall not see your love again. Here you shall stay until you decide to be a faithful daughter once more." And he left. Mist Woman made no answer. She did not cry out when the sun grew hot or the rain fell. Only her tears flowed down the rock to show her longing for the man. Little by little, the tears began to melt the stone until at last an arch appeared beneath her, and she was left on a high bridge of rock. That night, through the arch appeared the rays of an evening star, and down these rays walked the one she loved. Gathering her into his arms, he carried her up the stars into the land of the sky people. But the arch rock was formed and stayed to remind people of this story. So arch rock is said to have been seen as a bridge to the afterlife, or a bridge for spirits to descend upon earth.
I actually love that story. It's kind of sad.
It's very sad, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. The imagery, that could be like a movie type. I could see it,
And
like
how
painted.
her tears formed the bridge to her love.
Yeah. Oof, I have mixed feelings, but it's pretty imagery.
Either way, the arch is beautiful. Another interesting formation has an even more interesting name, the Devil's Kitchen. It's a small formation near the edge of the island that is blackened with soot and has a legend of its own. It's alleged that some Native Americans believed the cave was the home of evil spirits. They were giants who, if you came too close to their home, would capture you and eat you. They were cannibals.
Oh my god.
The soot came from the giants cooking fires for all of their unsuspecting victims. For this story, and like a great many supposed indigenous stories in America, it's unclear if this is truly the legend or if it was created for tourism purposes. Like
if the people made it up afterwards. Like,
yeah, they're like, oh, the indigenous people said that this is what it was for.
Oh, that's kind of slimy.
So it's not 100% clear if it was a true story or not.
But it could have come from somewhere.
Yeah, either way, it's a fun story.
It's a cool story. The soot though, like what? Huh? Like it's just there?
It's like blackened in parts of you'll see in the picture. It's like blackened in parts of the cave, and it's a very shallow cave.
Okay.
Though there are a great many natural and geological sites to see on this island, the last one we'll talk about today is Skull Cave. It's a shallow cave, once again made of limestone, and has an interesting history. A man named Alexander Henry, a fur trapper in the 1700s, was on the island when, toward the end of the French and Indian War, unbeknownst to him, an uprising by the Native Americans called the Pontiac's Rebellion had begun. He was taken by some of his Native American friends to a small cave in the night to protect him from harm. So he had befriended some of the people he was working with, and they were like, hey, things are going down, you're not safe here, we'll take you where it is safe. Grateful, he slept, but when he awoke in the morning, he found something morbid and strange. Here is Alexander Henry's recalling of the events in his memoirs. Quote, "On going into the cave, of which the entrance was nearly 10 feet wide, I found the further end to be rounded in its shape, like that of an oven, but with a further aperture, too small, however, to be explored. After thus looking around me, I broke small branches from the tree and spread them for a bed. Then wrapped myself in my blanket and slept till daybreak. On awaking, I felt myself incommoded by some object upon which I lay, and, removing it, found it to be a bone. This I suppose to be that of a deer or some other animal, and what might very naturally be looked for in the place in which I was. But when daylight visited my chamber, I discovered, with some feelings of horror, that I was lying on nothing less than a heap of human bones and skulls which covered the floor."
Oh my god.
It is believed by archaeologists to have been a burial place for those who lived on the island for years before.
Oh.
Yes, so he was taken to this cave where many people had been laid to rest.
That makes so much more sense. I was getting scared.
Still, could you imagine you wake up and you're like, oh, so glad I'm safe. Except now I'm lying on a pile of bones.
No, but at least,
Horrifying.
I mean, yes, it's horrible, but they weren't placed there sinisterly. It was like,
As far as we know.
yes, but that many bones, it very well could be, you know, a burial site, and that's just where they put them.
Yes, because there's not a lot of topsoil, so it was kind of hard to bury people on the
Yeah.
island because it's
Oof.
like completely made of limestone.
Ooh, yikes.
Though there are no longer any bones inside today, people report strange occurrences in and around the cave. Many have said that they can sense a presence when they arrive in the vicinity of the cave, just like in the area in general. Others have claimed to see apparitions and shadow figures in and around the formation, as well as experience sudden drops in temperature and cold spots once they begin to sense this being or entity emanating from the cave. So a lot of strange sensations, really. As you can imagine, the forts on Mackinac Island are said to be incredibly haunted as well. Fort Mackinac seems to have some of the most consistent activity on the island. It was built in 1780 and in use until 1895 and now runs as a museum. It has 14 original buildings on the property, and they are decorated with interactive displays and period furnishings for how they would have been decorated and used when they were open for their original purposes. So it's all dated.
Preserved,
Yes.
yeah.
People have reported hearing the sounds of musket fire and soldiers' voices ringing through the air when obviously they aren't there anymore. And I've heard of a soldier in white who has been seen near the officers' quarters standing, watching silently before vanishing into thin air. Others have reported apparitions, voices, and even laughter all through the property, particularly of children.
Oh, that's never good.
While in operation, the fort contained homes for soldiers and their families, and it's believed that a couple of child ghosts encountered on the property may belong to one couple in particular.
Oh.
In the 1880s, before the fort shut down, a couple named Mariella and Calvin Cowles were living in the officers' hill quarters in the east side of the duplex. They had moved a lot and had several young children, one who tragically passed before they arrived on the island, so they had already had one loss. And the first time they lived here in these quarters, their youngest son Josiah also passed shortly after arriving at their new post. And he was only like a few years old.
That's really awful.
Very, very sad. Another tragedy hit the family when they lost their youngest daughter, Isabel, just after her first birthday.
Oh my god.
Yes. Both children were buried in the post cemetery and left on the island while the family continued to move for military life. So they had to, leave their children there.
Yeah, that's so sad.
It's thought that some of the activity in the fort, particularly where the family used to live, may be caused by the young children. People have reported seeing the faces of young children through the windows of the old home. Others have claimed that items have been moved around the building and the fort in general, just like a lot of items move and end up in strange places. One exhibit cleaner was spooked as she entered to do her job that night in the children's room. There is a door, like a plexiglass door, where you have to get the suction cups and remove it to even get in there. And she was going in there to clean one night. No, it's blocked off totally from the public. You have to have the certain things to remove this door, okay? No one can go in. Well, when she went in, she found that the bed was completely moved and disheveled. All of the toys were thrust around. It looked as if it had been played in.
I hope so. I hope the kids are just playing and it's nothing nefarious.
Yes, me too. Throughout the fort, people have claimed to get the feelings of overwhelming sadness or distress, particularly in the two old hospitals in the fort. There are some reports of seeing disembodied legs
What?
in the fort.
That's new.
I mean, it's not like there was a lot of bloodshed and war at the fort, so it's not like piles of legs would be anywhere for any reason, so I don't know why, but those are some of the claims.
I don't think we've heard some weird stuff. I don't think we've ever had disembodied legs. Honestly,
I don't know.
What's scarier to you? A pair of legs coming at you or a full apparition?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I don't know, because I think just seeing the legs is so jarring that it might be scarier.
Well, one story I read said that it was a pile of legs. That they have been,
well,
sawed off or something. Amputated, I guess is a better word.
Okay, well, I don't want that. I was enjoying the thought of them walking more. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I don't want a pile of legs. No thanks.
Motion lights have been triggered at night while nobody was on the property, and so many people have had experiences that some people who work on Mackinac Island will avoid going through or near the fort completely to totally avoid the spirits. They get a lot of seasonal workers because they have their tourist season, and a lot of them, if they're not working at the fort, they'll take the long way around to not even mess with it.
I would too. Even if it's, just chill ghosts or whatever, I don't really want a run-in if I'm just trying to work. If I'm by myself.
With those legs?
Yeah, no. I'm good.
One tourist visited with their wife and had their own experience. Quote, "My wife and I were walking along the wall between one of the blockhouses facing the Presbyterian church, and we hear 2 times a voice that said, 'Help me, It was a high-pitched voice, and when we looked, there was no one on the other side of the wall. It is a steep drop, and we could see no children or teen that could have gotten away that quickly. Strange.
Horrifying, not strange.
I don't like
That's
it.
sick.
I don't like it. There are 3 cemeteries on the island. The Post Cemetery for those in the military or their relatives. Like, this is where the 2 children would be buried.
Mm-hmm.
The Mackinac Cemetery and the St. Anne's Cemetery, which is the Catholic cemetery. All 3 of them have had activity associated with, particularly of shadow figures, full body apparitions, and most spooky of all, voices and whispers heard by people walking through. It's by the cemeteries where several taxi drivers have reported the sudden sensation that they have a passenger in their carriage, as if, like, they've been picked up onto their next destination.
Yeah, I don't like that. The thought of having a cemetery on an island, it's kind of chilling.
I mean, we went through the Galveston Cemetery.
Yes, but just the thought of that, it's like, we're really on an island, and they're out here.
Trapped with all the spirits.
Yeah. I don't know why that feels more like you have to be alert.
Especially an island where you don't have a car to get away.
Yes.
Like, you can't just drive away.
Yes,
you have to, like, wait for the
take
ferry.
A horse.
Take a bike and go bike to the ferry and wait for the ferry to take you back to the mainland.
Dude, honestly, when you go to an island where you have to be on a ferry to get back, I get nervous.
It is a little nerve-wracking.
I don't like being somewhere where there's not like a bridge. Oh, that makes me feel really scared. I don't know why. You're trapped.
So before moving on from the forts and military-related hauntings, I just want to do a quick mention of Fort Holmes. It sits on the highest point of the island. It is the best place to go for stargazing while on Mackinac, which, by the way, Mackinac is spelled Mackinac, and I had to Google how to say it because I was like, there's no way this is how you pronounce this. And yeah, Mackinac.
Oh, interesting.
Just in case you didn't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought it ended in a W. But stargazing, I bet it's beautiful because there's no like big city lights out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a few miles from the mainland.
But you know what I mean.
I do.
There's whatever national park there is in Texas where there's like the biggest.
Oh, it's like lights out. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to go. Oh, I want to go so bad.
Is it Big Bend?
I was going to say Big Bend. I think so. It's like the biggest spot where there's no
in Texas,
lights.
Yeah.
Yes. Why have we not been? I didn't know until
we're not
recently.
Hiking people.
Well, yeah, but we could just drive out there and kind of sit. And just look up.
Many people have experienced what they believe are soldiers speaking at the top of the stairs at Fort Holmes. Others have had a rush of negative energy wash over them as they ascend the stairs, which I might mention are very close to Skull Cave. So like the entrance to the stairs going up to Fort Holmes are like right in that area. There is a story of one psychic who visited the island and had a total meltdown as she stepped onto the stairs to Fort Holmes. She sensed so much negative energy that she just became overwhelmed. One notable spot on the island is known for its supernatural connections, though the legend may not be totally accurate. The Drowning Pool, a 20-foot deep, small body of water, holds one of the most horrifying tales. It's told that sometime in the late 1700s, a group of 7 women living on the island were accused of witchcraft. Some stories claim that these women were working at the brothel on the island. But regardless, they were put to the test using the pool of water. Stones were tied to the women and they were dropped down into the depths of the water. If they survived, they would be deemed witches and put on trial, probably hanged. If not, then they were clear of charges at the cost of their lives. Which, I mean, I knew that kind of thing happened during the witch trials and all that.
What a stupid thing to do.
I mean, like we said in the Salem episode, a lot of the witch trials were like land grabs, power grabs. It wasn't about, oh, we truly believe that they were doing witchcraft. It's about, oh, we don't like them and we want what they have.
I think 100% I probably would have been someone that was deemed a witch.
You think so?
100%.
Horrifying.
Do you not think so for you?
No. I don't know. Okay. I just kind of keep to myself.
I think I would give off that vibe. Maybe. And I'm also like outspoken and I would speak my mind and I don't think that that's like a good thing for that time.
That's true. I'm more quiet. I just kind of hold it in.
Yeah.
Until I get home.
I don't. So I think I would be deemed a witch. Kayla would. Kayla, if you're finally caught up.
Our sister.
She would.
All 7 women drowned that day, and it seems they never left. People have reported feelings of heaviness on their chests, and the air seems thicker as they approach this body of water. Others have claimed to see the women come out of the water and float above it before disappearing completely. And some have claimed to hear crying, singing, and eerie voices through the night while near the body of water.
That is horribly sad.
Most frightening of all, there have been some visitors who claim that when they look down into the drowning pool, their own faces weren't staring back up at them. Rather, it was the face of an unknown woman staring at them from the depths of the water.
No. Oh, no, I can't.
That one makes my stomach turn.
Me too.
Okay, but to make you feel better, there is no official documentation of any witch trials or accusations made on the island, especially not in the late 1700s, early 1800s. Even more confusing is that it's said that the pool didn't even exist until the late 20th century.
So this
long
could just be
after these witches were murdered.
lore
Supposed
for
witches.
the tourists.
It could be. There's zero proof that this pool existed before.
I hope it's fake. I really, really hope it's fake.
So the reported history of the location wouldn't be possible if it didn't exist. But people still report something strange and chilling happening at this small body of water regardless.
But that could just be all the people that believe it and they're just like manifesting some type of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what
We've
I mean?
talked about that before.
Is that weird? Sometimes when I say things like that, I'm like, yes,
I only
sure, girl.
start thinking that after I leave. I'm like, was that too much?
Yeah.
There are a myriad of hotels, B&Bs, and resorts to stay in on Mackinac Island, and most of them have a ghostly story or two. Plenty of paranormal investigators have visited the island, capturing EVPs, orbs, and other strange activity with their equipment at many of the most popular spots to stay on the island. Like, nearly all the B&Bs on the island have some sort of tale.
And that is, I'm sure, played up to 10.
Especially in the fall, I'm sure.
Yes.
But there are two hotels in particular that have a reputation for hauntings. The Grand Hotel is an iconic building on the island and can even be seen from the shore of the lower peninsula of Michigan. It's a massive structure with the world's longest front porch, measuring 660 feet long. It's huge. It's huge. And it's like lined with a bunch of rocking chairs, and it's really pretty.
Okay, rocking chairs, creepy, but I would love.
It's a beautiful Victorian-style hotel that was opened in 1887 once the island pivoted completely towards tourism. It has a rich history, including that it was the filming location of the movie Somewhere in Time. That's one of the exceptions they had to cars on the island is for the filming. They had cars outside. You could see them in the movie if you watch the movie.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was a pasture land for a long time and was even the site of a distillery during the War of 1812. But some rumors say it was also a mass burial ground. Now, this is totally unsubstantiated. It may not even make sense once you realize how little topsoil the island actually has, but rumors say that when construction began on the Grand Hotel, workers dug up body after body. There were so many skeletons found that it was impossible for crews to keep count, and this is the basis for many haunting stories seen and felt at the hotel. A lot of people say that's where it started. It was an undisturbed, or it was a disturbed burial ground.
Then again, that is the go-to story for haunted, quote-unquote, buildings.
People were buried here and they were disturbed and like it was a whole ordeal. Yeah, there may have been bodies, there may not have been bodies. We're not 100% sure. There's no documentation of this.
But if they were looking for a story, that's the easiest go-to to say, oh, it's haunted.
As an explanation.
Because of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Many visitors get a general sense of unease upon entering the hotel. They see orbs and photos, have captured EVPs all through the building, as well as phantom music playing, as though a party from the Gilded Age is still in full swing. I've also read that many people have captured figures in photos with mirrors, as well as seeing someone behind them in a mirror that isn't there.
I don't like that at all. But I do want to visit this place.
It's lovely.
I'm kind of in.
I saw this. I didn't even know it was haunted. I had seen this like on the Travel Channel or something a long time ago. And I was like, wow, what an amazing place. And this just added. It's like, yeah, of course.
And the beaches up north, like on the big lakes and stuff. So pretty.
There are a lot, and I mean a lot of stories on the Great Lakes, like hauntings, tales, spooky things. I found a podcast where I got some of my information from. If I can remember what it was called, I'll link it in the description. But it was all about hauntings on the Great Lakes.
People want us to do Lake Lanier, and I would love to.
I'm down. There's so many like shipwrecks.
It's just scary, and that's one of the scary type of things that I know about.
There are a few entities spotted often by visitors and employees in the Grand Hotel. So sorry, getting back to this. One is the man in the top hat. He is often seen in the ballroom, near the piano, or by the grand staircase. He is dressed in formal wear, is accompanied by the smell of cigar smoke, and is usually seen staring out the windows or walking along before disappearing through walls or into thin air. Another entity known to the Grand Hotel is the Lady in White. This young woman is often seen dressed in an elegant white gown and floats through the corridors and is often spotted near the cupola bar. She appears to be sad or deep in thought, just very quiet and introspective, and vanishes before you can get a second look.
I'm gonna be the Lady in White for Halloween.
Okay.
It's every place.
It really is. The second floor seems to have a lot of activity, particularly, especially in room 220, where guests have reported many events like lights flickering on and off, and objects moving around their room. So, like the typical hotel hauntings. Some guests have even claimed to wake up in the middle of the night to the feeling of being watched in their room, as well as even being pinned down to their bed, unable to get up for some time with the same sense of dread and eyes on them. So they can sense someone watching them and they just are stuck to their bed.
I would take that over the one hotel we talked about where that man leaned down and like kissed her.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I
That
don't
just
remember
made
where
me
it was, but it was sick.
I think it might have been in St. Augustine.
Oh, it was sick.
Mm-mm.
I will remember that forever.
On the 4th floor, it is believed that a young girl named Rebecca still walks the halls, though she passed many years ago. It's a child. Some have claimed to see her wandering the halls between 2 and 4 a.m., just playing, running about, and she disappears without a trace. Like, you see her and then she's gone. There's also a woman in black who has claimed to walk along the porch at night with her dog.
Oh, that's me.
So she's just some Gilded Age woman.
It's us.
The last spirit at the Grand Hotel seems much darker and more sinister than all the rest. It's claimed that a group of maintenance workers were taking care of some repairs that needed to be made when they spotted a very large, dark, shadowy figure standing before them. They all saw it and remarked on its glowing red eyes and piercing stare. So it's just this like giant shadow figure with glowing red eyes looking right at them. Frightened, they turned around to leave, but the shadow suddenly rushed at one of the men, knocking him to the ground and into unconsciousness. The man was taken to the hospital where he awoke and chose never to return to work at the hotel again. Perhaps this could be the cause of the heavy feelings some claim to have as they walk in through the doors.
Yeah.
Though Mackinac Island has many more haunted locations in such a small area, the last place we'll talk about today is Mission House and Mission Point Resort. Mission House is a state-owned property today on the National Register of Historic Places, like many of the buildings on the island, a lot of the places we talked about today. But this one has a long history. It was built on Mission Point in 1825 by a Presbyterian missionary who wanted to provide a boarding school for Native American children in the area. As many of you may know, these boarding schools for Native children were not typically even in the realm of good-natured. A lot of horrible, horrible things happened in America and Canada at these boarding schools. They were places where Indigenous children were told not to speak their own languages or participate in their cultures or customs, including cutting their hair and wearing the clothing that those running the schools deemed appropriate. So a lot of their culture was lost when brought here. They were like, no, you are of our country now.
That is disgusting.
It's horrible.
That is genuinely, that makes
maddening.
Me so angry. I can't even put it into words, but at the same time, I want to cry just with like frustration and sadness.
Even worse, lots of stories of abuse and other atrocities have come out over the years about these schools. Many families never seeing their children again after being forced to send their children off. This boarding school on Mackinac Island was open for about a decade with roughly 500 students attending in this time period. Of those 500 children, 16 have been reported as passing at the school from what was believed to have been illness, particularly tuberculosis. I personally didn't read of any stories of like murder here, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. It has happened in time. But the 16 children that are reported to have passed here was from illness. After the boarding school closed down, it was turned into a hotel and used as a conference center for the moral rearmament movement. The people of the moral rearmament movement, that is a lot for me to say, I'm sorry, purchased Mission House in 1946 and eventually added more structures around the property, including a theater and soundstage where they showed their own motion pictures. So this movement believed that a realignment of morality would help solve the world's problems and was an initiative that took root and spread from it started in England in 1938 to all over the world, particularly after World War II.
They just want people to be nice.
I guess.
Be kind.
I don't know the whole story behind this, so I don't know if there's some nefarious means behind it or what they did exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mission basically of them were like, we all just need to realign our morals. We all just need to get morals and be a better society.
Hey, speaking on them, not knowing much about it, so I could be wrong, but we need them. Bring them back.
Assuming they're good.
Assuming they're good, yeah. If they're bad, and forget I said that.
They used the building until the 1960s when they abandoned their buildings, giving them to a newly established liberal arts college, which failed after only 4 years in operation, which, I mean, it's a very small island.
Yeah.
I mean, today there are about 500 year-round residents.
I love that. I love that a lot. I bet there's some good tea on the island. Like verbal tea.
Oh, yeah.
Not herbal. Yeah.
Verbal, not herbal.
Yeah.
It was turned into a religious retreat center, an educational institution, and then eventually parts of the building were turned into a resort, while the original mission house was restored and is now used for seasonal employee housing. Today, there are many reports of hauntings all around the property, all around Mission Point, really. Many people have reported the sounds of screams and cries from disembodied voices, and many have claimed to see the spirits of children walking through the building. There was one story I heard about an employee waking in their room to children's handprints on their window when there were no children around. So the people staying kind of like in the wing of the building where the children stayed, they say it's not negative. It's just like kind of playful. It's just mischievous spirits.
Yeah.
And like they'd say, hey, quit messing around. And they would just like, it would stop, you know, that kind of thing.
It still makes me sad.
Just any haunting that has to do with children upsets me. People staying here have reported their belongings being moved while they sleep, doors slamming, their alarm clocks being turned off for no reason. And many believe that the area of the building where the instructors and missionaries stayed was a dark and negative energy. So the children's wing, fine. The other wing, not good. Shadow figures have been seen on the walls, through the kitchens, and on the porch, and there is an unspoken rule by those staying overnight to never leave your room after dark. They don't know why, but many who stay here get the sense that something very bad may happen if they do.
I feel that way at any hotel.
There is one spirit, referred to as Harvey, though we don't know his real name, who is said to belong to a once student of the college on these grounds. Harvey lived on Mackinac Island and had a deep, unrequited love for a girl who lived nearby. I think they went to school together. Though the exact reason is unclear, it's believed that he was so heartbroken that he walked into the woods one evening and shot himself. His body wasn't found for 6 months, and there were rumors that it may not have been suicide, though no one knows for sure. Harvey is said to have remained in the area and to cause a lot of activity for those near Mission Point. Now, before I move on about the hauntings, I also want to caveat this and say, I didn't find any records of a Harvey or of a student, this happening to a student.
So all of this is just local lore.
Yes.
That
So
people
a lot
believe.
of the lore seems to come from, I think his name is Todd Clements, and he runs like the Haunted on Mackinac thing, and he's written books about it and stuff. So I don't know if he has access to like documents and records and stuff that I don't, or other people don't, or what he's finding.
I mean, it could be stuff on the island that is not published.
Yeah, it's possible.
Or-
and he also said that his name wasn't Harvey. That's just who they refer to him as out of respect for the family.
Or what's his name? Could just be a liar. We'll never know.
It's possible. It's very
Though
possible.
We could.
That's what I don't like about the paranormal world, is there are a lot of grifters. And we
Yes.
talked about this with the Warrens.
Yes.
Like, you don't know who to believe.
No.
And now I love to hear the stories and I'll tell the legends, but I just want it to be known that always take everything with a grain of salt, because there are a
gotta-
lot of people who are just trying to make money.
we can go and experience it for ourselves and we can find out.
Yeah, people report cold spots, shadow figures resembling a young man at the end of their bed, and even bed shaking while staying at the resort. People who believe they have encountered Harvey report a deeply mournful feeling. They just feel overwhelming sadness. At one spot he is believed to be very active is the old theater. People have heard voices, seen shadows move behind the curtains, and lights flickering, though none of the power is on. Now, I read one story of a seasonal worker who was in the theater with another coworker. They heard like chair legs scraping behind the curtain, and they thought it was their coworker, and they're like, hey dude, cut it out, that's not funny. And then from a different direction was their coworker, and it's like, what are you talking about? It's not me. They're sweating. They don't believe in the paranormal. They're here just to
working.
work, just to enjoy the island. And so they finally gained the courage to rip back the curtain, and sitting there in the middle is a chair, but no one is around. It's just them.
Well, it is a theater, and we have stated many times, if it's a theater, it's haunted.
In
Regardless,
general.
if it's
Done.
new,
End of story.
it's haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I get that feeling.
Yeah.
But
And is it haunted by actual spirits, or is it haunted by just like an imprint like on the space because of high emotion? A lot of
Yes.
things going on in theater that require you to, like, I don't know, leave parts of yourself on the stage.
That is so theater kid, but yeah.
Sorry.
No. I'm agreeing with you. I'm embarrassed to say that I agree. No matter, like, even if it's a movie theater, an actual theater, like, yeah. Because movies make me feel. And
I
don't
immerse
feel
myself.
Me too.
That's why I was having such a hard time after Hereditary. So if you don't know, we watched Hereditary with our patrons. I am scarred. I
had
still
seen it.
don't know what. Yeah, I had not seen it. I still don't know what to say about it. I don't know that I like the movie. I like the concept of the movie. I am deeply unsettled. Still, to this day, it's been over a week. I'm scared.
I love Toni Collette in that movie.
She did a great job.
So
She did.
I have watched it several times just because of her and all the
dude.
acting. It was so well done.
I said, like, I don't want to watch it again. I don't. But I
But-
want more. I want more of it, but I can't yet. I'm
No.
going to watch like essays or video essays about it and like people discussing it and maybe read some like Reddit posts or something.
You have
But
to wait.
I can't visit it yet. I
have to
can't
wait.
revisit that yet. I need time.
I waited several years.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Just speaking of high emotion when watching films. To end things off, there are so many interesting bits of history surrounding the island and its inhabitants over the years. I've heard from many that Mackinac Island is a lovely spot for vacation. Well, I've heard, like I read a lot of people saying this is a great place. I don't talk to people. With its beautiful sights, exciting museums and trails, and the fudge is supposed to be incredible. There are like many, many fudge and candy shops, an exorbitant amount for such a small island, which by the way, a little fun fact, I wrote this down. During tourist season, the island receives 10 tons of sugar per week to meet the demand of fudge and other goodies.
I must go.
Their
I'm
fudge is
going.
supposed to be really good on Mackinac. What we do know is that Mackinac Island served as a very important and sacred space for some of the indigenous population over the last 1,100 years. And who knows what still lies embedded in the limestone formations or ripples through time and space out on the rocks surrounded by the Great Lakes. And with that, we will read a listener story.
Woo! So at the end of this, my final thoughts, I want to go.
I told you.
I want
told
to
you.
go.
This is from Emily, and they wrote us a letter and mailed it to our P.O. box, which is written in our description if you want to mail us a letter too.
Love it.
Dear Ghosties Pod, hello, my name is Emily, and I work and now live year-round on Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is located in northern Michigan and is a super magical and life-changing place. It's also known to be extremely haunted. If haunted places had a checklist, Mackinac Island would tick every box. The island is largely made up of limestone, has an in-depth Native American history intertwined with prominent legends and lore, was involved in the War of 1812, and since it is an island, it is surrounded by water. If the walls here could talk, they would have many stories. The island also has a presence and a lot of character. It's very hard to explain, but the locals reference her regularly. We often will say, "This is Mackinac Island, this isn't the real world," and, quote, "I should have known better, I've been on the island for years now," in reference to being humbled by the island. It's a lot of fun, but can also be very dicey and dangerous if you don't keep your wits about you. Growing up, I loved to read spooky stories, both real and made up, with my best friend, Bryn. So when we visited Mackinac Island as kids, we were instantly enamored with the island. We had said, we should work here one day when we grow up. Bryn is still my best friend to this day, but never ended up joining myself here. I love it here so much, and so fiercely that I used to cry when I had to leave. Fun fact, there are no privately owned cars here, and the only ways to get here is by ferry boat, and some take small taxi planes. So I used to sit on the boat with massive sunglasses trying not to cry too loudly. Another fun fact is that people primarily get around on the island and move things by horse-drawn taxis and horse-drawn drays.
Obsessed.
I am very lucky in that I work for Mackinac State Historic Parks as a park ranger here on the island. I didn't know it at first, but in the grand scheme of island seasonal employees, the state park employees have it very good here. I started working for the state park in the spring of 2021 as a park operations worker. I then worked very hard to prove that I wanted to be here permanently and was promoted to the night ranger position for the 2023 summer season. This position involved closing Fort Mackinac for the night and our downtown visitor center. It also came with the fort apartment, which is housing inside the fort. As a lower employee, I had lived in Mission House, which turns 200 years old this year. That's the last place we talked about. The house can hold about 50 seasonal employees, and despite having to share space, I had a ton of fun living there and made friends very quickly. You learn fast that the island attracts a certain type of people that want to work here for the summer, and the vibes were immaculate. So, going to live all by myself in Fort Mackinac didn't feel like the upgrade that it was said to be. Did I mention that the majority of the state park housing and attractions are historical and said to be very haunted? The majority of our haunts are said to be peaceful. However, despite my interest in the paranormal, I don't engage with the spirits I work and live with. I fear I would go crazy if I did so. I kept a radio playing at all times in the fort apartment, and I also have 2 cats. Any bump in the night could be chalked up to one or the other.
Great strategy.
I agree.
That's a me thing. I would do that.
I don't miss living there. Now I live in a house just outside the fort, which is known as a dead house or the morgue. It was meant to hold bodies while waiting for burial in the very cold winter.
What?
So in places like up north where they're like the ground is frozen,
Yes.
they didn't have the means a lot of times to bury their dead. So they would hold them until the ground thawed, basically.
Absolutely not.
Isn't that horrifying?
Yes, but it makes sense. It's horrifying that they lived there.
Yeah. My boss, who has lived here in the past, claims it's haunted, and I still have my 2 cats, and now I have a boyfriend as well. Despite the building's history, it doesn't feel as haunted as the fort apartment did. I live by the same rules as Natalie. If I see something, no I didn't. If I hear something, no I didn't.
As you should.
I could talk about Mackinac Island and my personal experiences here over my 4 going on 5th seasons and my 1 going on a winter for a lifetime. I won't burden with much more rambling now, though. I want to thank you both for the podcast. I have listened since late this past summer as I have cleaned and crafted. I have laughed and cried with you both. You have quickly become one of my small collections of podcasts that I listen to religiously. By the way, Mackinac is pronounced Mackinac. The city that I believe was named after the island is Mackinac City. Mackinac and Mackinac are both pronounced the same way, but to differentiate, they are spelled differently. This is thanks to the Native Americans who named this place and the French who settled here and worked closely with the Native Americans. I hope to hear back from you. You can read this on the pod or to whoever you want. I don't mind.
Thank you so much. I was already sold on wanting to go, but hearing the way that they talk about just being in love with this place, I have to see it. I have to go.
I know.
And we need a tour. When we go, who wrote this?
Emily,
we need a tour.
yes, I love hearing from people who are there, from
Me
people
too.
who like are in it.
Me
you
too.
know?
Not just observers from the outside.
Like we're just visitors to some places. Well, really sometimes mostly on the internet. But like even when we go somewhere, like we're just passing through. I love to hear someone who's been there multiple years, who are in it every day,
Yeah.
who know the stories and the lore, you know?
Me too, because I feel that way even when we go to other places in Texas. Like, we've been to Galveston how many times in our lives?
A lot.
Tons of times. But like going there and talking to locals and taking the ghost tour and everything, like, I don't know, it really like,
More of a connection.
yeah, it made me want to move there.
Well, that's all we have for you. Also, if you wrote to me, I promise I'm going to write you back. A lot of you wrote to me and I got overwhelmed and they're sitting in a pile on my desk and I just got scared. So I will write to you back before the end of the year.
Yes, so be on the lookout for that, I guess.
Yes. If you like this video, please like it, share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe for more. We've got a listener stories coming on Thursday. Very fun stuff. It's themed.
Ooh.
I'm very excited about this theme too. You don't know what it is yet?
No, I don't.
But I'm very excited about it. If you're on audio, please leave us 5 stars. That would be greatly appreciated. And you can follow us on Instagram at GhosteasPod. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, we've got lots of stuff going on over there. We've got a live actually coming this Thursday for free members. So you don't even have to pay. You just go and join our Patreon. It's Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time, which is where we are located. So you can figure that out with math or Google or whatever you use. Just go over, join us. We're just going to bake and chat and have some fun.
It's so fun. Every time we've gone live, I have the time of my life.
Yeah, it's
and
a lot of fun.
It makes me want to start a Twitch. I was telling Ryan today, I was like, I don't think that many people would want to get on, but the few that would watch me, I would have the time of my life.
Chatting. Yeah, I agree.
Yes,
Okay,
because-
we might just start a Twitch.
Why not?
Okay. Anyway, you can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/ghosties. It's also in our description. Go ahead, join, become a member, and then get notified when we go live, and you can just sit and ask us questions, talk about whatever. We'll tell ghost stories if you want to. I don't know. Just
Or you
something
could just
fun.
lurk. If you don't want to talk, just lurk.
Or be a lurker. That's fine too. I am
That's
a
what I would do.
lurker. I am. But that's all we've got for you today, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Goodbye.